Welcome back, America. We are so lucky to have this next guest. She is the governor of the great state of South Dakota and the author of this amazing new book, Not My First Rodeo, Lessons from the Heartland. She's Governor Kristi Noem. Governor, great to have you on the show.
Thank you. I'm thrilled to be with you all. Thank you so much for inviting me to be with you.
I love this book. I couldn't stop reading it last night. I want to turn to it in a second, but we have a little bit of breaking news. You're doing a lot of things on the front lines of governance. I want to ask you about the things you've done in your state since the Dobbs ruling on Friday. One of those is to announce that you're going to ban abortion pills coming into the state. The second is to create a new URL, new website called life.sd.gov. I'd like to learn about both of those.
Well, what's interesting is what the Supreme Court did last week by coming forward with this decision is that they fixed a wrong that had been done almost 50 years ago. What this does is it returns the decision making back to the state to have their elected officials decide what the law will be in protecting life closer to home. What's interesting in South Dakota is back in 2005, we passed a trigger law that if this decision ever came overturning Roe, that abortions would be illegal immediately, except to save the life of a mother. So that is the law today. And we are focused on really making sure that people have the resources to know that these mothers are supported, that they have their health care, the counseling services, mentors, and even adoption services, should they choose that path, at their fingertips if they need it, if they're in a situation where they have an unplanned pregnancy or a crisis situation where they really do need some help. So it's life.sd.gov. And it's a connection point to really address some of those questions that we're getting right now. I think it's important, too, for us to talk about the fact that even in the case of if someone did continue to get an abortion in the state of South Dakota, it is not the mothers who would ever be prosecuted. It is not to go after these mothers. It is to prosecute the doctors that would knowingly break the law by performing abortions in the state. So I'm proud that South Dakota is standing for life. I'm also proud that we're putting some action behind our words and saying that we do support life and we support these mothers as well, getting them the resources that they need to move forward.
That's amazing. And you also, in this bill, don't allow exceptions for rape and incest. And I know a lot of evangelicals across America are cheering that decision. Talk to us about why you decided that.
Well, this trigger law was passed many years ago, even before I was involved in government and politics. But I do support the law as it stands, just because it aligns with really what it means when you say every life is precious. I can't even imagine the tragedy that goes along with being raped or having a situation where you're dealing with incest and what those individuals are going through that have had that experience in their life. I've never experienced anything like that. But what I would also say is I've just never believed that a tragedy in a horrible situation should be followed up with another tragedy. And if you're truly going to be someone who says all lives should be treated equal and every person deserves a chance to live, we have to defend these babies when they're in the womb and speak for them and make sure that we're backing up what science has shown us. Over the years, we've seen developments that have proven to us that this is a life at conception, that it does feel pain in the womb, that doctors, when they treat these babies in the womb, they treat them as patients, give them patients' rights as well. How can we then turn around at any other point and say it's a patient and it has rights, but it's not a human life? It's just hypocritical, and I think it's important that we have that intelligent conversation going forward.
Yeah, such important things. Something that doesn't seem to be very intelligent to a lot of people, Joe Biden's decision not to let you have fireworks at one of the great monuments in America, Mount Rushmore. You're taking some legal action. Tell us about that battle. And why would the president deprive the great citizens of South Dakota of that great opportunity?
Well, the fact of the matter is Joe Biden doesn't like me, and he doesn't like the state of South Dakota because of the decisions that we've made. And listen, he's punished us from the very beginning since he got into the White House. What he's doing by denying us the opportunity to have a fireworks show at Mount Rushmore is really ignoring federal law. There is a law on the books that's called the Administrative Procedures Act that says if you check all the boxes for safety, environmental concerns, consultation with tribes, meeting any fire danger, water quality issues, that if you meet those requirements and do all that, they have to issue the permit. And we did do that. Did all the work, and still they are denying us the opportunity to celebrate America at our most wonderful monument that we're so proud of. So I am suing him in federal court. We will win because we're on the right side of the law. But I think what is interesting is that, tourism is our second largest industry. It's our chance to market our state. He's not just hurting our opportunity to celebrate America. He's hurting our economy. He's hurting jobs in South Dakota, and I believe he's doing it on purpose.
Yeah, I know that the people of South Dakota are going to be very upset that they can't view that, but we've got just a few days left. I certainly hope that that happens. But I want to pivot to your book, an incredible book, and so many great anecdotes in there. When you talk about lessons from the heartland, you know, there are these quintessentially American values. And I think a lot of those, they come from the heartland. Talk to us about some of those values that exude from South Dakota and from your upbringing.
Well, you know, I grew up on a ranch. My dad was a cowboy. He was very tough. Everything as a family we did together. If the doors of the church were open, we were in there. And I think that, you know, it would surprise a lot of people to know that I did not grow up in a political family at all. In fact, we didn't even talk about politics. We lived them. You know, everything that we did backed up our freedom and personal responsibility, hard work, taking care of ourselves, not relying on the federal government or even local government to bail us out of difficult situations. And that certainly created the type of person that I am today and my value system and how I use these opportunities to serve in public office every day. So I think the story in this book is, you know, it's a political book in a way that it tells some political stories that people haven't heard before, but it's really about my life lived so far and helping people understand how I make my decisions and why I make the decisions that I do. I think most people probably first heard my name during COVID and thought, who is this lady? And everybody's attacking her and I don't even know her background. Is this the first thing that she's ever done? And that's just not my story. I've had several challenges throughout my life and they've created who I am. And that's why I think I am a strong person today, is because of the family that I had and my faith and the fact that I had the blessing to grow up in South Dakota.
Yeah, it's an amazing book. And you're right. You really do walk away understanding the value system that underlies your decision as a governor. You come from a state where 4 great men are on the side of a mountain, but there's a 5th great man in your life. I can tell from the book, your dad. There are 2 amazing anecdotes that really spoke to me. One, the story of how your dad would get you up in the morning. I'd love you if you could tell our audience that. And 2, after he passed so tragically, you went to his pickup truck one day and what you discovered. It's such an amazing anecdote. I hope you could share it with our audience.
Well, you know, my dad was a very hard worker. I don't think I ever remember going to bed before he did or getting up and him not already have been awake for hours, you know, getting up and working every day. So the way that he sent us to bed every day was our kids' bedrooms were upstairs. As we said goodnight, he'd say, all right, you know, head to bed and sleep fast. And the way he woke us up every morning was yelling up the stairs, get up. More people die in bed than anywhere else. I remember being a little girl and thinking, is that true? I don't know. But yeah, it seemed like we did have to sleep fast because there was always so much to do. But, you know, when he passed away, you talked about the tapes. He was 49 years old and I had planned my entire life to go to college, come home and work with him in the family business. So when he was killed while I was still taking classes, it was devastating. And he was kind of Superman. He was the one who had all the information in his head, and we were all just trying to keep up. And when he died, I became the general manager. We were farming about 10,000 acres at the time, had a large cow-calf operation, several different businesses, had a lot of people working for us that didn't necessarily want to be working for a 22-year-old girl. And it was challenging. I remember thinking over and over for days on end, I just wish I could ask Dad. I wish I could ask Dad. And not knowing what to do. Finally, after a few months after he was gone, I had the courage to go clean out his pickup. If anybody who knows a farmer knows they live out of their pickups. Yeah. Everything important is there. You know, their notes, their pens, their tools, their food. It just kind of seemed like they lived out of their pickups. But I went with a box finally to clean out his pickup, which I hadn't been able to go near until then. It just was too hard. But in his pickup, I found all kinds of little dictation tapes, like these little audio tapes that he'd had a little tape recorder with. And I turned one on as I was sitting there in his seat behind the driver's seat and heard his voice. And it was him just talking about what soil type was the best.
That's amazing. Governor, I'm so sorry. I want to hear the rest of this. Everybody, you have to go and check out her book, Governor Kristi Noem. Thank you so much for joining us. Everybody, we'll be right back after these commercials.